So when you're tired of pulling your pork, I got a different recipe for you. Today we're making pork carnitas. You need a pork butt. And you're gonna need to slap that butt. Pickled red onions. If you've never had pickled red onions, you've been missing out. They're my new obsession. These pickled red onions are gonna go beautifully with this pork carnita recipe. All right, so let's start with that. If you don't have a mandolin, you're gonna wanna slice these very, very thin. But I'm gonna use a mandolin to accomplish this task. So let's clean this red onion up a little bit. Okay, so once your onion's clean, you're gonna wanna set your mandolin, if you have one, to its lowest setting, which is what I've done here. And then we're just gonna slice away. Be careful, always use the guard, unlike I'm doing right now. I will when I get low enough, but pretty much, ooh, see, that's why I use the guard. I already chopped my finger. Lesson learned, folks. And this is what you're looking for, nice thin slices of red onion. All right, so once your onions are thinly sliced, put them into a container, preferably a mason jar, but at least something that's gonna be able to handle a little bit of heat, because we're gonna add boiling water to this. So I'm gonna put it in one of these deli cups. You're gonna need a pot. And to the pot, you're gonna want 1 cup of apple cider vinegar, 1 cup of water, a couple tablespoons of sugar, a tablespoon of salt, a couple bay leaves, oh, I dropped them, some peppercorns, and red pepper flakes. Bring it to a boil and dissolve all that sugar and steep, hear that? Steep all the bay leaves and peppercorn flavors, all right? Just for like 3-5 minutes, and once it's boiling, you're gonna pour it over your onions, okay? So I'm gonna go bring this on the stove top. So with your hot steaming, you're just gonna wanna pour this over the onions in its container. Careful not to burn yourself, and make sure everything is submerged. So see how that is? Everything's in there. We're just gonna let this sit aside in cool room temperature. Pretty much let it pickle itself, because this is the pickling process. All right, so let's just set this aside. Now let's move on to the star of the show, the pork. We are making today pork carnita tacos in an Instapot. It's actually very easy. Here's your pork butt. You gotta cut this up into chunks. This has a bone in it. Preferably, I would have liked to have gotten it without the bone. The bone in's fine, I just have to cut around it. So we're gonna cut this up into chunks. All right, so now that you have all your pork trimmed up and cut up into chunks, we need to season it. Here's what I'm gonna season it with. Cumin, oregano, paprika, and chili powder. And some salt and pepper, which I've conveniently placed in this little dish. There's a teaspoon of each, and we're gonna mix this up and rub it all over the meat. Isn't that cool looking? I like the way it's all sort of like that. It's almost a shame to mix it up, but you have to. All right, so you're just gonna mix this up like this, and then you're gonna rub it all over your meat. Flip it over, make sure you get all sides. Rub that in, coat your meat really good. And now we incorporate the Instapot. On the Instapot, you want to set it to saute. And then we're going to put our meat in there, and we're going to braise it, sear it, bring some color to it. Put a little vegetable oil down the bottom. And let me bring it in closer. So we're just waiting for the oil to get hot, and then we're going to put our meat inside the pot. And while we're waiting, it's a good time to crack a beer. Cheers. Drop in your pork. Don't overcrowd the pan, so you'll have to do it in batches. So just a few minutes on each side just to get a little bit of color. You can see right there, it's already starting to brown. That's what you're looking for. Flip it over, do the other side. All right, so when you got this little bit of color on all sides, remove it and set it aside. And into the same pot, we're gonna add 1 chopped up white onion, about 4 cloves of garlic, and 1 chopped jalapeno. Continue sauteing until everything becomes fragrant and the onions are translucent. All right, so when your onions become translucent, everything's slightly fragrant, you're gonna wanna deglaze the bottom with a little Coca-Cola, right? You only need about a can, about 8 ounces, 12 ounces, whatever. So we're gonna put about that much in the bottom, equivalent to a can of Coke. Scrape the bottom of any bits that might be stuck. From here, you're gonna wanna add some orange juice. So I've got some oranges here. I'm just going to squeeze in there. And then some lime juice. And again, we're going to add a couple bay leaves. You'll then want to return the meat to the pot. Now you're going to want to try and get these submerged in all that liquid down there. All right, so as you can see, I'm a little short on liquid. I'm going to add a little bit more Coke. About a half a bottle of my beer. All right, as you can see, everything is submerged. Return the lid, seal it up, pressure cook for 40 minutes, set it and forget it. Okay, so now the fun part. See how tender this meat is now? It just falls apart. Look how it falls apart. All right, so that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna shred all this meat up. See that? Look at that. Beautiful. That's exactly what you're looking for. Fall apart tender. All right, so spread it out into a, ow, hot. Spread it out on a baking sheet and then stick it in the broiler for about 5 minutes just to crisp it up a little bit more, to add a little bit more flavor. All right, so after 5 minutes in the broiler, we've added a little bit of color, a little bit of extra flavor to the meat, and we're ready to assemble our tacos. All right, so we've got some nice warm corn tortillas sitting here. Take a little bit of this meat, put it on each one, like this. All right. I got some beautiful salsa verde here. We're gonna put a little dab of that on top. Okay, that's like that. Oh man, this is beautiful. Look how good this looks already. We got a couple sprinkles of some white onion for the crispiness and texture. And then, that flavorful, gorgeous pickled red onions. This is gonna make the whole thing come together. So put a little bit of this on top like that. Just like this. Boom, there you go. And what you've got is the perfect pork cornitas, not cornitas. I know. And what you have is the perfect pork carnita. This is so good. Look at this. Mm. Mm. That's so good. That pickled onion, it makes all the difference. This was so easy in the Instant Pot in about an hour's time, start to finish. And this is so good. You have to make this. You'll thank me later. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please comment below. If you like this video, if you learned anything, maybe subscribe to my channel. And if nothing else, come on back for the next time I cook. And we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye. So good.